Hi, I'm Matt. Welcome to Disney Planning Insights. Through creative content and live shows, we explain the hidden details of the Disney experience so that our clients can execute memorable adventures. Together with Princess and the Mouse Disney Travel, we have helped hundreds of clients plan, book, and prepare for magical Disney vacations. Let our experience help you avoid common planning mistakes and maximize the enjoyment on your next Disney trip. Hey everybody, it's Matt with the DPI podcast, and we are not here this week. But we did record you something brand new. So we've got a brand new top 3 and a brand new client question for you all to enjoy this week while we are off doing whatever we are doing. And we will see you again live next Tuesday so that we can all hang out and talk some Disney news on the DPI podcast. Thanks for enjoying our content, and we will see you next week. Business trip.
Did the people move around?
It does tingle a little bit. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Matt with the DPI podcast, and I've got Peter with Princess and the Mouse Disney Travel. We're going to be doing another DPI top 3 tonight, and what we do is we pull a chip. It gives us a category of what we're going to do a top 3 on, and we got 20 seconds to think about it. None of this is predetermined by any means, unless I say it's predetermined. So, all right, so tonight's number is number 14. So let's see what number 14 is going to be on our spreadsheet. It's not that one, it's this one here. Number 14 is... This is a good one. This one's going to make you think. Irrational fears at Disney parks. You've got 20 seconds.
What does that even mean?
Planning your first trip and getting overwhelmed by all the details? Planning your next trip and just want some new suggestions on things you haven't tried? Contact me at Princess and the Mouse Travel, and I'd love to work with you planning your next trip to the most magical place on earth.
You can contact Princesses and the Mouse Disney Travel on Facebook at PATM Disney Travel. All right. Peter's a little perplexed by the question this week.
I don't have any irrational fears. I don't have my top 3 irrational fears.
Well, I guess they could be rational fears at the Disney parks.
I don't even know if I have rational fears.
Here, I'll lead off.
All right, you start. I'll come up with some stuff. I've got some things cooking in the old noodle here.
So my number.
Let me put my thinking cap on. This is gonna help.
So my number 3 irrational fear is sinking in a boat, and it's a small world. They've
That's actually a good fear.
They've had some issues with boats and other rides, but just to think about actually being in that water for an extended period of time because the boat sank. And on top of that, I carry a lot of camera equipment with me that on a ride like that's going to be sitting at my feet. And yeah, that's one of those things that I just don't ever want to happen. I don't know that it ever would happen, but I just don't ever want it to happen. So, being in a sinking boat in a small world is my number 3 irrational fear. Peter, what's your number 3?
That is a very good irrational fear. It is. Okay, I am gonna. This is not from me, right? Because I can just talk about irrational fears that some people would have.
Sure.
Okay, so I am gonna go with the whenever you see like maybe somebody who's maybe a baddie, right? Like the Wicked Stepsisters or Cruella or other types of villain type characters. Watching kids who like recoil because like some of those people will say things like, oh, basically like threatening physical harm or like that they're going to be like snatched up or whatever else. And like watching kids, like that's obviously not going to happen. This person is a costumed character. They're not going to get Horace and Jasper to come get your dog. They're not going to, the wicked sisters are not gonna, like the evil queen is not gonna come get you because you're fairer than her. Like that, I don't know. You like see these little interactions and you just almost see like a moment of sheer terror in a kid's eyes, and that's a very irrational fear in my mind. So I did get one of my irrational fears for number 2 and 1. So I'm going to start with that one for number 3 because I have watched my kids personally like almost freak out to where I got to settle them down. Like, it's not real.
The evil queen at Artist Point is a great example of that. I mean,
right.
Yeah, just a perfect villain, and you get some of those at the not so scary parties that are just perfect villains. So
kids are just terrified of them, and you're like, that's so irrational. They're in character, but they're super. Because I love, my favorite are the villains because I like to sort of like almost side with them and just listen to them be like, oh yeah,
All right, so moving to our number 2. First off, if you want to submit a category for our top 3, you can do that on our website. Go over to patmdisneytravel.wixsite.com, wixsite.com. Up in the top right corner, it's going to be the planning page. Up in the top right corner, there will be a submission form for questions for the show, for the client question section, and for comments for the top 3 show. So if you want to have a category for the top 3 show, you could suggest one, and normally we put them into the rotation right away, so they have a chance of getting pulled relatively quick. So definitely do that. So my number 2 irrational fear at Disney is getting my hand hit on Space Mountain.
That's not irrational. Put your hand up; it will happen.
I mean, I'm a tall enough guy. I'm 6 foot, and when you see Space Mountain with the lights on, you wonder how they get people through that ride without major injury.
You said major injury because there are some minor injuries.
Yes, there are minor injuries. I'm talking like major, like severance of hand and people hitting their heads and that kind of stuff. I think it is such a tight, compact ride. How much track they've put into that show building it's spectacular engineering, but the first time I saw it with the lights on, I was like, yeah, those tracks are really, really close together. So that's my number 2 is getting injured on Space Mountain. Peter, where are you going with your number 2?
Okay, so not a big fear, but I always, whenever I'm on Kilimanjaro Safari, I just kind of watch all the wildlife, especially the open areas where like the giraffes and the zebra, and especially like the rhinos. I just always, as we're driving, and I know, and it's so irrational to even be even remotely thinking about this because the drivers are completely respectful of all the animals. They give them the right of way for everything. So why? But I don't know. Like, what if you just get a pissed off rhino one day? Just I'm really sick of this stupid vehicle being right here. And so, I don't know. Every once in a while, as I'm like riding Kilimanjaro safaris, I'll just be like, man, I really hope that rhino just keeps eating that stupid straw over there. It doesn't like get pissed off and like horn blazing come after the vehicle. Yeah, because you see like wild safaris where stuff like where the wildlife sort of interacts a bit more than you want, or maybe a friendly giraffe is going to come over and stick his head into the carrot. Just little stuff like that. Over interactions with the wildlife, and Disney's planned for it, and again, they've created this safe environment. But I don't know. Every once in a while, I'm just like, I don't like the fact that giraffe is like one neck length away from me right now. Why don't you go eat the top of a different tree, buckaroo? Just little stuff like that on Kilimanjaro Safari. So that is an irrational fear, 100%.
There you go. Let's get to our number ones. And before we get to our number ones, Peter, where can people find you?
Not on Kilimanjaro Safari.
Apparently not.
No, I love that ride. We always ride that ride. It's a great ride. Like I said, irrational fear. So yeah, over on Facebook, Princess and the Mouse Travel is the quickest way to find me. Hit me with a messenger. I'll get back with you, and then once we get through sort of some of the preliminary things, we'll exchange some phone numbers, get a phone call scheduled, or if you are local to the Indianapolis area, I'd be happy to buy you some Starbucks and sit down. But even my local to Indianapolis people normally just set up a Teams meeting or just have a phone call or whatever else. But those are the best ways to find me. Obviously, you can find us. Well, actually, it's on the bottom of the screen right now. If you click on that, go to that website, you can find me there as well. So.
All right. So my number one irrational fear, it kind of goes along the line with the baddies, the villain conversation you were having, but people jumping out at me at theme parks. Now, you don't get it a whole lot at Disney, and you don't get it a whole lot with even like the not so scary, but it's always like, I've always been like cautious around corners and that kind of stuff, just so people don't jump out at me, because I feel like I'm going to punch somebody if somebody does that. So, it's just one of those, you have a lot of people in a small space, and you're trying to be cognizant of kind of your surroundings. And I feel like as soon as I don't pick up on something, somebody's going to jump out and do something. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, that is the one thing in that kind of environment that just, it freaks me out. Because it causes more panic than just with me. It'll cause panic in the people around me and what happens there. So, I guess that is, the oop jump scare, as my daughter would say it. That's the one thing that I kind of am leery of at the parks. And it's, like I said, not just Disney as a park by itself, but just theme parks in general and those crowded situations in general. So, Peter, what is your number one irrational fear?
Note to self for September.
Do not.
Where'd Peter go? You'll find out soon enough. Yeah, Matt punches a character who comes around a corner. Disney Planning Insights is no longer a podcast because Matt has a lifetime ban from Disney properties because he hauled off and punched Gaston. Okay. No one gets clocked in the face like Gaston. Okay, so my number one, this is I don't know, man. To me, this one is real, and I want to call it a rational fear, although I know it's not. When you are riding Big Thunder Mountain Railroad with a small child, the lap bar is for both of you. And if you are even remotely portly, and I'm not a portly individual, but at 6 foot 200, like my little girl, there's a solid 2 feet of clearance between her and the lap bar. So it's not a big deal, but especially the town scene where you sort of like yoink, 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 like my little girl whips all over the place. I just have this irrational fear, and it's the same thing. Like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, when you're like screaming around that turn where like the lake, the rivers of the world are over there towards Tom Sawyer Island.
Uh-huh.
Like, you go screaming around that turn, and I just like imagine jettisoning off of that right into the river. Like, I have irrational fears about Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Fantastic ride. I won't stop riding the ride. But between my daughter getting jet-packed out like an ejector seat because she's so far away from the restraint system, and me launching into the river. Now, my daughter will be fine if we launch into the river because the lap bar's nowhere near. She'll just get to the surface and swim. But I'll be somewhat trapped in the vehicle. Yeah, big Thunder Mountain Railroad is an irrational fear of mine. I love going on it. It's the wildest ride in the wilderness. It's a great time. But I don't know. When I get to the hot springs at the end, I just sort of like breathe a sigh of relief. Like, my daughter's still next to me, and we didn't jettison into the rivers of the world.
All right, Peter. Well, another great episode of the DPI Top 3. Again, if you guys have any suggestions for top 3 categories for us, go to the website. It's down at the bottom right now, but I'll tell you anyway. It's patmdisneytravel.wixsite.com/planning. And go up in the top right corner and submit your category today. Thanks for joining us, Peter. Let's go ahead and get into the client question.
Do you have questions concerning planning a Disney trip? Ask them live on the show or submit them on our website at patmdisneytravel.wixsite.com/planning.
I don't know that I really have a good question to follow up that top 3. That was a weird top 3. When you have questions, I guess this is where my question's gonna go. When you have questions about the parks yourself, where do you go?
Boy, I couldn't tell you that. In terms of what?
I don't know. I find myself on Reddit a lot, just like looking at what other people are questioning about the parks, and then I just kind of try and figure out my own answers for that kind of stuff. You know,
I don't
other
know.
than just being at the parks, how do you keep up with everything?
I mean, if it were somewhere other than Disney World, I could see, utilizing. I'm a big, like, even if, okay, so when I went to Disneyland, okay, so maybe this helps, because Disney World, I joked around with a client a couple of weeks ago that, like, whatever they need my help with, to whatever degree they want that help, whether they just want, here are my recommendations and here's how you do stuff, or if they want, on this day at this hour, walk 37 paces and turn left down this walkway, because, like, I don't know, the park maps are like, I've got them. The biggest things that I might look at are like updated park hours, or what nights there are special events, or what nights there are, like the Disney after hours, or other things along those lines.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I just find all that stuff in the app by just going to the information. So when I was going to Disneyland, I guess this would be a really good, like, I had never been there. I was going for a couple of dual purposes, but one of my main personal reasons of going there was to understand it to the nth degree so that I would be effective in helping clients plan trips for Disneyland, just as much so as I am Disney World. And one of the very first things that I did is I spent a substantial amount of time in it. There are, I'm trying to remember where it is. I think it's on the Disney website, but it's like an Ask Moms panel.
Yeah.
Where Disney has, they basically, I don't know what they pay these individuals, but they basically pay some individuals to basically run this forum of Q&As where they give their input or they give their feedback and whatever else. And so I spent a good amount of time in there. reading like what are the best restaurants, what are the hardest ones to get into, what are the rides that get the longest wait times. And then a second thing that I did, and this is just me, but if I wanted to get familiar and really get the most out of my Disney time, I spent a bunch of time, I couldn't even tell you the number of hours, learning. Like, I went into the Disneyland map and clicked on the filter to see attractions and got a sense of where is everything. And then I clicked on the dining one and said, where is everything? And then I clicked on the attractions one and said, where is everything? So that by the time I went to Disneyland, I was sitting there going, oh, okay, so my lunch reservation is at Blue Bayou, so I know that I'm going to go up and I'm going to ride the Splash Mountain and then work my way down and ride Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion, and then I'm going to go to lunch at Blue Bayou, and then I'm going to go across and ride Big Thunder Mountain as I work my,
Yeah.
like you just sort of, oh, I know when I go into California Adventure, I start walking forward, and when I see the Trattoria Wine Country on the right, I know to go left down that path, and that's going to take me to Cars Land. If I go straight down that path, it's going to take me to Pixar Pier. Like, the more I just kind of go find it on my own, I suppose, because then when you start going through the restaurants, you start going, oh, okay, this name sounds interesting. This name sounds interesting. You click in, you click view menu, you look at the price list, you look at what it offers. You start going, ooh, I would like to eat here. That is something so mine is probably not like the regular person just because I'm on the travel agent side, because I'm trying to just absorb all of it, instead of just like targeting a specific question. And then, if I have little questions that come out of that, then I might use some of those website resources, some of those FAQ lists, and all of that. So
I think we've done a lot of the same with Paris coming up. Just really just hammering the app, learning where things are, knowing kind of the parade routes and the timing of everything, just so we can navigate the park efficiently. I think that's the one thing that travel agents do better than people on their own, is figure out how to navigate parks more efficiently. Not only from experience, but just from raw hours of looking at the Disney app, the Disney site, figuring everything out, not only for themselves, but for clients. It comes very easy on, well, where do you go here? What's your pivot? What meals are around here? And that kind of stuff, and having that in your head already. So, if you don't want to put in that time, that's where travel agents are very handy, is they've already put in that time. So definitely reach out to our buddy over there, Peter, over at Princesses and the Mouse Disney Travel, and he will help you out with his vast dome of Disney knowledge that he carries on his shoulders. So, Peter, you got anything else before we jump out of here?
No. It's good stuff. And that's the number one thing, what Matt, you kind of referred to it there at the end. When you start going in, you start realizing, wow, to do a good job at this is going to take hours and hours and hours and hours. And so what's great is over the course of about a 45-minute conversation, I know the questions I want to ask you, and then I have it all. So it's very easy for me to say, okay, so they're going to want this, as opposed to somebody else who might want this other subset of things. And it's always really funny because whenever I'm in those client meetings and conversations, I'll have like a client say, oh, hey, what about this? And I go, oh, that's funny because I was waiting to bring that up until this time. So let's talk about that right now. That's fine. It's really nice to kind of get live answers instead of having to, jump online and find it yourself and hope that you're finding credible resources and all of that stuff. So.
All right. Well, great stuff, Peter. Well, thanks for joining us again tonight. Everybody else, thank you as well. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Like, share, do all those things, and we will see you next week. Bye now. Hey, thanks for checking us out today. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons to help out the channel. Also, if you're looking for some more Disney content, check this out. I think you're going to like it.